Hey, it's Philly. Mr. Rogers back with the second part of our lecture series on the origins, the immediate origins of World War One. In the previous video, we reviewed some of the basic facts that from late 19th and early 20th century Europe that led to the war. Then we talked about some problems within the Triple Alliance that is going to directly lead to the war. Then we talked about problems within Austria-Hungary and Balkan nationalism, and how Balkan nationalism led directly into the war, and because of the assassination of this man, Franz Ferdinand. So if you've got any questions or you want clarification about Balkan nationalism and the things that led up to the assassination of the Archduke that we are going to be talking about today and the aftermath of his assassination, go and check out the first part of this video on YouTube, on the SPhilly YouTube, and there will be explanations for those themes there. But for this video, we're going to look at the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and the immediate aftermath and how that led into the war. So again, this dude, Franz Ferdinand. Who was Franz Ferdinand? He's not the band, not that anybody who's listening to this knows what the band is, but not the band. Franz Ferdinand was heir to the throne of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and actually he was sympathetic to the cause of the Slavic people, the people who were in Serbia and in parts of Austria-Hungary who wanted to become a nationalist, to get their own nation. He actually was sympathetic to their cause and wanted them to have a larger role within the empire that he would eventually lead. But despite this, he was not popular with Slavic nationalists like the Black Hand, like the leaders of the Serbian country, because they wanted complete independence. They didn't want a larger role within this family's Austrian-Hungarian Empire. No, they wanted their own country. They didn't want to still be part of Austria-Hungary. They didn't want to be ruled by these Habsburgs or Habsburgs, depending on how you want to pronounce it. They wanted their own country. So even though Franz Ferdinand was pretty moderate and sympathetic to the Slavic cause, he was not popular Slavic nationalists. But as part of his, appeal to the Slavic people, he went on a tour in the summer of 1914 with his wife of the Slavic parts of his empire. And that's where he is going to, run into his end. So, when Ferdinand and his wife arrived in Sarajevo, Bosnia, on June 28th, 1914, the Black Hand, who we talked about in the previous video, which is a Slavic terrorist group, they saw it as their chance to strike at the heart of Habsburg power, as their chance to assassinate the heir to the throne, the person who was going to be taking over their much-hated empire. This is their shot. The assassin, whose name I'm going to butcher, and I really apologize. I believe it's Gavrilo Principi. He's pictured on the right, though, and 7 other members of the Black Hand worked to assassinate the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Their initial attempt, which was throwing a bomb at the Archduke's car, failed. However, eventually the Archduke's car got stuck in traffic, which gave, again, Principi the chance to open fire on his vehicle. The bullets eventually killed the Archduke and his wife. And that now, because of that, all of Europe is in danger, thanks to, again, the 4 main causes of World War I that we've talked about both in our videos on 19th century and 20th century European history, but also in the last video. These 4 main causes, again, militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. Because of them, and now with the death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the whole of Europe and the whole of the world is in danger of being engulfed in war. So here's the initial response. The initial response by the Triple Alliance. Again, the Triple Alliance is Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. There we go. Austria-Hungary is massively angry and blames Serbia. Germany blames Serbia too and gives Austria-Hungary a blank check to respond however they want. So Germany tells their ally, Austria, hey, you could do whatever you want. You're the heir to your throne. One of the most important people in your country was just murdered. You can do what you want. So on July 23rd, 1914, Austria-Hungary issued a 48-hour ultimatum to Serbia. Either agree to what they want or prepare for war. So Austria sends an ultimatum to Serbia. What is in this ultimatum? The Serbians have to stop all nationalist publications. There needs to be the destruction of all Slavic nationalist groups like the Black Hand that assassinated the Archduke. So terrorist groups have to be stopped. We've got to stop all nationalist publications that are promoting the Serbian and Slavic cause. And then the Serbian government had to purge itself of all of the enemies of Austria, all anti-Habsburg members. So anybody who was in the Serbian government who was opposed to the Austrian-Hungarian Empire had to be purged from government. So this is a really, really strong ultimatum that the Austrians sent. Germany backs them up, and Serbia has 48 hours to reply. Well, how does the Triple Entente respond? Again, the Triple Entente is Russia, Great Britain, and France. Well, Russia is allied with Serbia, and Russia backs Serbia, says, all right, bro, we got you. Whatever you decide to do, we're going to support you. And then the French fully supported Russia's decision. So, in many ways, this is the mirror of what's going on with the Triple Alliance. Germany fully backs Austria to do what it wants. Russia backs its ally Serbia, and the French have got their back. Now, the British wanted to lead negotiations between Austria-Hungary, Serbia, Germany, and Russia for peace, so they were a little bit more in the middle of the road here. But they're still allied with the French and Russians. Serbia, with Russian support, mobilized its military on July 25, 1914, and issued a reply to Austria, which accepted some of the demands, but rejected others. Austria, however, refused to accept anything short of 100% agreement to their demands, and that's going to lead to war. Both sides believed not backing down, however, would prevent war. They believed this was a game of international militaristic chicken, where both sides believed that if they didn't back down, they would win, and thus war would be prevented. Germany believed that 100% support for Austria would cause France and Russia to back down. On the other side, France and Russia believed 100% support for Serbia would cause Austria-Hungary and Germany to back down. They both had the same opinions about the other side. Germany said, if we hold strong, they'll back down. France and Russia said, if we hold strong, they'll back down. Well, that's going to lead to bloodshed and war. And then the war came. On July 28, 1914, Austria declared war on Serbia because, again, Serbia refused to meet their ultimatum 100%. After Austria-Hungary attacked Serbia, Russia ordered its military to march on Austria-Hungary starting on July 30th. While the ally was starting a war, Germany was preparing to fight on two fronts, in the west against France and in the east against Russia. Germany developed a secret plan to try to rapidly defeat France by invading through neutral countries. Anybody who knows anything about World War II history will know that they're going to try that again in the future. On July 31st, Germany orders Russia to not attack Austria-Hungary and France to remain neutral or else. When neither the French nor the Russians reply, the Germans begin their attack on August 1. On August 3rd, German forces march through the neutral country of Belgium, which forces the British to enter the war on the French and Russian side. Well, this isn't it. Now it becomes a world war. Why does it become a world war? Because of the Ottoman Empire. Well, also some the other empires, but we'll get to that. So it's going to not just start with this battle between the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente. Starting with the Ottomans, it's going to expand throughout the world. Now, just to remind you, the Ottoman Empire is basically modern-day Turkey. They had controlled other parts of the Middle East as well, but we can just mostly think about them for our purposes as modern-day Turkey. The Ottoman Empire initially stayed out of the war. They had problems with both sides. They didn't like the French, they didn't like the British, they definitely didn't like the Russians, and they definitely didn't like the Austrians. However, the Ottomans particularly hated Slavs and Serbia. Serbia had been stealing territory from the Ottomans in the name of Slavic nationalism. So even though they had problems with everybody involved in here, they particularly hated Serbia because Serbia had stolen their territory in the name of Slavic nationalism. They also they hated the Russians too because of religious divisions. Russians were Christian, Ottomans were Muslims. Russia and the Ottoman Empire had fought huge wars throughout the 19th century and going back hundreds, I mean, really, honest to goodness, close to thousands of years. All right, Russia and the Ottoman Empire, well, not thousands, but hundreds, closer to 1,000 than not. They had fought huge wars throughout the 19th century. Russia supported Serbia against the Ottomans. So it's doubly here. They hate the Serbians because they stole their territory. Russia backs Serbia. Russia has also fought the Ottomans throughout the 19th century, and there's huge religious divisions where Russians are Christian, Ottomans are Muslims. And on August 6th, the Ottomans made an alliance with Germany. Even though they didn't like the Germans, even though they didn't like the Austrians, who had also stolen land from the Ottomans, they still viewed them as less of a threat than the Slavs, than the Serbians, and the Russians. The Ottomans would help Germany in exchange for protection of the freedom to conquer lands in the Balkans. So the war is immediately expanding as early as August 6th. So now we have the two sides of the war. We have the Allied powers of France, Russia, and Great Britain, and the Central powers of Austria, Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Germany. So the Allied powers were once the Triple Entente, and the Central powers were the Triple Alliance plus the Ottoman Empire, aka modern-day Turkey. And that brings us to the war. These are the two sides that are going to fight one of the largest wars in human history that is going to devastate Europe and the rest of the world for years and is going to leave deep cultural scars that we're going to be discussing in our project. So please make sure you check what we talked about here against your study guide and make sure you answer those questions. And if you are confused by anything in here, please make sure that you check the first part of this about the immediate origins of World War I, or go look at the two lectures that I did on the late 19th century. Until next time, please stay safe and stay healthy.